Hey there, Tundra Nation, and welcome back to the channel. Today on Tundra Tactical, we're doing another round of Ask Tundra Nation, the show where you guys, the fans, get to ask your questions and have them answered here on the show. So make sure to give that video a like. Thanks for watching, and let's start the show. Before we dive into your questions, I want to say a big thanks to Sonoran Desert Institute for sponsoring this week's video. Working the same entry-level job in the firearms industry is a huge drag. Trust me, I know. I was stuck in the retail loop for what seems like forever. Why not give yourself a leg up on the competition and earn a degree in firearms technology from SDI? On top of that, they also offer a certificate in gunsmithing, so instead of just having a Dremel and a dream, you can get the actual skills that you need to help land you that sweet job. Thanks SDI for the love, and Tundra Nation, make sure to check them out today. All right, our first question today comes from our buddy Hypo. Hypo, we miss you. Come back to us, please. He asks, what are some of the bad habits that self-taught shooters adopt regardless of them making it work that are just a bad idea? I'll give you my first to consider. When firing low and to the left or high and to the right, instead of correcting the anticipation, they just aim to the opposite of where the shooty bits hit. P.S. from Hypo, training is good. Get training from somebody and do a fitness too. Great advice, Hypo. My answer to that, if I had, let's see, it's kind of a tough one to think of on the spot, but if I came up with anything, it would be probably two things. Number one, a poor or like improper grip. We see grips, ideas, and things like that changing all the time in the firearms industry. I think the biggest example would be like the AR-15, the C-clamp, the magwell, any number of other grips. What's right this week will be wrong next week. But one of the more consistent methods that have been widely accepted as just correct is the thumb over thumb handgun grip. And I think that's probably not going to change anytime soon. What we see a lot, if you work at a range, as an RSO, maybe you're an instructor or whatnot, or you're just practicing and you're seeing this all the time, is self-taught shooters doing the cross thumb, teacups, any number of different improper or wrong grips, and they just stick with it. Now, you can train enough to make it work. We've seen it happen all the time. I mean, throughout history, we've seen all those training videos where where we just kind of look back at them and laugh nowadays. So it definitely does work, but once again, I think it's widely accepted that the modern evolution of the handgun grip is that solid thumb over thumb grip, where that meat of the palm kind of wraps right into the curve of your thumb while high up on the gun. Obviously, the higher you are up on the gun with your strong hand grip, with the webbing of your finger, the more control over the vertical recoil, because the less that muzzle's going to want to flip, or the less room that it has going back into your hand under recoil to turn up, and then just equal pressure on both sides. Some people just manhandle the gun and that works for them. Some people are a little bit more even pressure on the grip. Some people do like the 80-20 thing, which I think it's probably just better to just go full send on either grip. So yeah, I don't know. That would probably be the big one for me. If I had to guess another one, actually not even guess, this is one that actually really kind of cheeses me off, and almost every shooter I know has done this at one point in time or is still doing this, and that's doing the whole check your work. You go bang, and then you go bang, and then you're looking at every single shot. Let's say you're shooting at 7 yards and you're trying to find those individual holes in the piece of paper. What this is doing to you is, well, number one, it's taking you out of the reason why you're training, right? You're not going to do this in the real world. You're not going to be like, oh, pew, bang, and then be like, hold on a second, let me see if I hit you. Yeah, you're pretty much going to know right away. But the other thing it's doing is it's allowing you to get in your own head, and for two reasons. Number one, let's say you make an awesome shot and that confidence level soars up. And you're like, yeah, you do it again. Boom, another awesome shot. And you're like, all right, I got this. And then all of a sudden your next 16 shots are low and to the left, and you're damn it, you can't figure out what's going on because you've gotten into your own head. You said, okay, I've got this down, I'm ready to play, versus, doing 5-10 rounds at a time where you're not coming off the sights and you're essentially finding a group. Think of it as like sighting in your gun. You don't take your deer rifle out, right? And you put one round in a piece of paper and then you check it, and you put another round in a piece of paper and then you check it. You put 3 to 5 in and you find the group size. That's kind of the same idea that you want to do when you're practicing pistol work, at least to a beginner's extent. And coming off those sights each and every single time allows for a lot more variable to be introduced into that next shot, Whereas the consistency of staying on those sites and just bang, 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 will allow you a much better representation of A, your skill, and B, how to diagnose any issues that you might have. So Hypo, I hope that answers your question and gives you some stuff to think about. Same thing for the rest of you guys, Tundra Nation. Do you guys come off your sights as you shoot? Do you watch people do that all the time at the range? And does it bug you as much as it bugs me? Make sure to comment down below. And let's move on to the next question. Next one's coming up from Almighty Vader, and he wants to know, actually very aptly, will Hypo ever return to the spotlight and grace us with the glorious beard? Well, I cannot speak for our buddy Hypo. I can tell you that, like I said earlier, we do miss him quite a lot. If you guys don't know who Hypo is, he is the co-host to our live stream who's on kind of an extended hiatus right now because his job is running him ragged and he's got to focus on family life and things like that and can't devote a whole lot of time to the live stream on Saturday night. So my guess is yes, he will be coming back at some point. However, I don't know when that's going to be. And we're going to give him the space that he needs. You know, that's the best thing that we can do right now. He's in the chats every now and again. He shows up, he drops by, make sure that we know that he's okay. And I talk to him every now and again. So Hypo, come back to us when you're ready. We can't wait for the grand return of Hypo on the initials. Spartan, let's see, Spartan 679405, I think, if I got that right. His question, or their question, is what does a firearm have for it to be considered good by your standards? Well, it's a well-known fact here on Tundra Tactical that we hate everything equally. We hate everything and everyone in the firearms industry equally. Our kind of running joke is it doesn't matter what decision you made, that decision is wrong. But if I were to take away the comedy of the Tundra element and answer this question personally, I would say, actually, I wouldn't even say that a gun has to have any specific thing. Like, a good example would be, well, this AR-15 has to have this muzzle device on it for it to be considered good. It has to have this combination of parts, you know, a 2-stage trigger from Hyperfire or, you know, a low mass bolt carrier group, something like that. You know, Odinworks O2 Light M-Lock handguard. I don't think that I would label it as a specific set of parts. What I would label it as, or what I would say is, do the parts or does the gun, the overall build, have the reputation of being good by people that I trust? I.e., you know, guys like Warrior Poet Society, Fit and Fire, actually, believe it or not, he's a smaller YouTuber. Some of you guys might not know him, but I'd highly recommend checking him out because the guy knows a lot, he trains a lot, and he has a lot of experience, especially in the AK world, with a lot of different stuff. That being said, if I went on the AK side of things, obviously you'd be talking about Brandon Herrera. If he gives me the thumbs up on a gun, then I'm going to consider it good because that's a person that I know, I know he knows his stuff. I know him personally. I've talked to him ad nauseum about AK parts and builds and kits and all that stuff. And if he tells me something's good, then I'm just going to say, all right, it's probably pretty good. Now, with somebody like me, I'm a little bit more middle of the road. I wouldn't even say jack of all trades type of guy, but I know what I know, and I know that I don't know everything. Believe it or not, I don't know if you knew that, but I don't know everything, even though I pretend to each and every week. So yeah, you know, for me personally, if it was a like a preference thing, I would like a solid aftermarket trigger. Personal favorite of mine's the Airborne Arms Geronimo trigger. I do not actually like 2-stage triggers in AR-15s. I like single-stage triggers. For whatever reason, I'm faster with them. I'm better with them, more consistent with them. I do like low-mass bolt carriers. The Dead Air Sandman break is a personal favorite of mine. So something with a muzzle, if I had to break it down to parts, I would say something with a reliable, solid, and good effective muzzle device. Same thing with the trigger, good, effective, reliable trigger. A given for me is the JPSCS, silent capture spring for the buffer. There are certain things that are niceties, but not necessarily essential for me. Things like extended latch charging handles, ambi controls, and stuff like that, where I would consider them second tier. They wouldn't be like a make it or break it thing. So yeah, I guess in summary, I would say if I can trust the opinion, or excuse me, if I could trust the reputation of the product, that's what makes me consider it good. And not just from like Joe Schmo on the internet, but from actual reputable sources. And that's, I think, the key. You know, people can go on forums all day long and validate a bad purchase, validate an opinion on a bad purchase, because there's going to be an echo chamber for every single gun where everyone's under the impression that they made the right decision because they spent their own money on it and they don't want to be wrong, or they don't want to consider themselves wrong, regardless of how it works. That's why companies like ProMag still exist. That's the reason why companies like Taurus still exist. You know, Brazil, known for many things, guns ain't one of them. I'll tell you that right now. And reliability for firearms is definitely not one of them either. Reputation based on reputable information and sources would be what I consider to be a good firearm, or what makes a good firearm. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's move on to the next one. We got Oof Master Ranger coming in with, will PSA ever make a KS-47? He says in parentheses, an AR type platform that shoots 5.45 that takes AK-74 mags. I honestly wouldn't be surprised at this point. As much as I love PSA, or as much as I love to hate PSA, or hate on PSA, I should say, I do own a few of their guns. I like them. They're good range toys. I'm not going to, use them in any serious work, but they're fun to, take out and plink or hand off to a buddy that's, hopping onto the range for the first time and let him shoot. Or them shoot. But will they do it? I mean, they've done so many other things. They're allegedly diving into the MP5 world. We have, hopefully at some point in any time in the future, the Dagger coming out to make a run at the less expensive, or less, I guess, cheaper Glock market. They've already made many generations of their PSAK 47s and 74s. Yeah, they have a 74 series out, I think, right? It's getting tough to track more of these American-made 74s. I know 2 years ago at SHOT Show, there was like 5 of them that came out in 1 year. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see something. I don't think it would be that difficult for them to engineer. Obviously, there's examples of it already with, well, I guess the Mutant isn't necessarily an AR in 5.45. It's an AR in 7.62x39, but something like that, I think, would be relatively easy for them to put together. And if there's a big enough demand for it, that's going to be the real motivating factor, I think, for them to push a product like that out. Without the demand, they might still do it. I mean, PSA is kind of a wacky company to begin with, and they like to do stuff that kind of breaks the mold for an American company, especially when it comes to the ever elusive American AK, I suppose. Next one coming up is Pavel from Metro. Good name, my friend. He wants to know more Oleg when. This will be a short and sweet answer for you, buddy, but I will say stay tuned. I believe that Oleg, while OPSEC, all things considered, I can't tell you where he is, but he is currently on a contract right now overseas. He should be coming back. I can't say specifics, but within the next few weeks would be my guess. He hasn't talked to me in a couple of weeks. He's been kind of off the map, so I'm sure he's doing some wild and crazy stuff somewhere around the world. But I've heard rumors that within the next 3-ish weeks, he should, about 3-ish weeks, he should be maybe coming around. Could be a little earlier, could be a little longer than that. We don't know exactly. However, there's a rescue operation being planned for a specific person that we know. And I think Oleg's going to be involved. So stay tuned for more on that, my friend. Tiger Stripe Templar wants to know what piece of equipment, belt, plate carrier, optic, etc., were you most excited about when you bought it, but most disappointed when you actually used it? I don't know. I guess off the top of my head, it's kind of difficult to think of, because I have decent equipment. I've got my HRT plate carrier. I've got another Banshee 3.0 plate carrier. My HSGI belt, mag inserts are all good. Magazines are pretty decent. But a long time ago, like a really, really long time ago, we did a video on the Ammo Pal. And if I remember to do so, I'll shoot a link to the video either in the description or a little card thing up here will pop out. You can go watch that. It's one of our earliest reviews. It's a silly video. I was actually kind of excited for that, just for the simple fact that I don't run shotguns all that much. And I've wanted an excuse to run them a little bit more, and this was kind of a cool design. I had this feeling that it wasn't really going to work out, but we decided to review it, and it was awful. It was literally terrible. So there was a lot of excitement for that, to be like, hey, maybe we found the key, but I don't know. And then when we got it, we're like, yeah, this is way too good to be true. The springs bound up constantly. The retention on the shells was way too strong. If you guys don't know what the Ammo Pal is, I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook. There's like a new one, like the Ammo Buddy or something like that. I don't know if it's made by the same company, but it's this like, it almost looks like a magazine, and you feed shells into it. It compresses like a mag, and it goes on your plate carrier, it goes on your belt or whatever. and you rip shells out of it. Holds, like 12 shells or something like that in a very compact form factor, where you wouldn't get that if you had just like a loop on Velcro, to put on your plates. It condenses everything down very, very nicely. The problem is there were just a ton of issues with it. Yeah, we ended up not being very favorable on that review. And some interesting things happened towards the end of the video. I would encourage you guys to watch it. It's a funny one. Starts off serious and then kind of devolves into silliness, I guess. So the Ammo Pal would be the one that I was moderately excited for, but then the disappointment kicked in and we ended up hating it. Well, I like this question. Okay, next question is coming from Molan. He wants to know, at what age will the Bean be allowed to ride the Lightning? The old Bert move. He says, Break, our daughter used to make the brap noises every time, or everywhere we went, like a two-stroke dirt bike sound. That was funny. It says, what funny stuff does Bean habitually do out and about? I thought it was awesome, and I definitely encouraged it. So it looks like two questions here. At what age will Ellie be able to ride the Lightning? If you mean like machine guns or guns, the answer is the same. I don't have a set age where I'm going to introduce her to firearms. I want her to ask me. If she's interested, she's going to ask me. And when she does, I'll take her out. Kind of depends on her comfort level and things like that. I'm really not a fan of people who, and once again, this is like another set of range stories that just absolutely piss me off. I'm not a fan of people who bring kids out to the range, A, when they're not ready, or B, when they're not there to have fun. Shooting, at least at that age, should be educational and it should be fun. Safe, educational, and fun. When you take somebody out before they're ready, the nerves that are inherently there. I don't know if you can remember your first day shooting. I really can't with mine. I can't remember things that happened 3 days ago, so I'm not surprised there. But I know that I was nervous. Even though I was excited to go, I knew that I was nervous. And if you're not ready to be there, those nerves will only compound and A, create an unsafe situation. B, the education learned that day will not be retained, or it has less of an opportunity of being retained. And C, it's just not going to be fun. They're not going to want to go back out again. It's going to feel like a drag, or you're forcing them to do it. My thought process is she's going to grow up around firearms. She's going to know that daddy shoots. And if she wants to make that part of our time together, I will be super, super excited the day that she does ask me. But even if she never does, then that's fine too, because that's just her thing. And I want her to be ready to do it. I'll encourage her in some ways. But I'm not going to be saying, hey, when are we going to the range, Ellie? When are you ready? And then she's just going to feel like, man, I have to do this now. And that's not the way. I don't think that's the way it ever should be with kids. It should be something that, there's a relationship to be built there. There's something that really is special when you take somebody out shooting, especially if it's a daughter or a son, nephew and niece, or even another family member, brother, sister, mom, dad, who cares? It should be something that they want to do, not something that you want them to do, I think is a good way of putting it. In terms of the second part of the question, what funny stuff does Ellie Bean do habitually when you're out and about? Nothing like terribly, terribly silly. But she has to, I guess maybe it is, she has to wave to everybody that she sees, and she has to say hi to them. When we're out at a restaurant, this was hilarious for her birthday. When we were out at the restaurant that we took her to, she would go to every single table while she was up and around. Grandma or grandpa would be walking her around, and she would go to every table and say hi to every individual person at that table, and then she'd move on to the next one. And then she'd go to every server, say hi to them. And it got to the point where the restaurant manager was actually taking it. We knew her, we knew the restaurant manager, but she was taking her around so that we could eat and so that Ellie could say hi to the rest of the entire restaurant while we were there. She does the same thing like out at Target or something. She'll go up to, she'll be riding in the cart. Every person we pass, hi. So we'll have to teach the whole stranger danger thing to her when she's out and about more on her own. But yeah, that's something that I find insanely cute about her and love every second of it. Molan follows up with his second question of the day, and he wants to know, what is my favorite beer? Well, as most of you guys know, I'm not a huge beer fan. I shouldn't say not a huge beer fan. I drink beer, just not my first choice. I like scotch, I like whiskey. But if I had to choose a beer, it would probably be two beers. I'm not like really a craft beer type of guy. I'm not like, those micro brews and all that stuff. IPAs are definitely out of the question for me. I like thick brown beer, essentially stouts, you know, brown ales, red ales, things like that. But if I had to pick two, it would be Northeast and probably Newcastle Brown Ale. Those would be my two favorite beers. It's simple and not terribly interesting, I'm sure, but those are the answers. Guys, thank you very much for watching today. I want to say thanks to SDI once again for sponsoring the video. Make sure to check out these two cripplers right here as I point to the wrong side of the camera. I'm still getting used to that. Those two cripplers right there. And make sure to join us next week when we still very obviously don't know what the fuck we're doing. Bye.